Hello and welcome back to Fire Emblem The Last Promise 0% Growth's Low Turn Count Playthrough, version 2. This video will be tackling Chapter 15, which is the first map that's actually interesting to talk about in Anakin mode. First off, it's a route map, and one of the very few that actually exists in this game. Secondly, it's a map that has a turn save, compared to the previous playthrough. We beat this map in 4 turns in the previous playthrough, and I did it again, this time in 3. You might notice that we deployed units like Tomiko and Sia, despite the fact I didn't give them a lot of credit in Siegfried mode. The primary reason is that Sia and Itsuki are able to work together to kill that mercenary, which means that I have a much simpler time dealing with the bottom part of the map, because I'm not having an angry mercenary rushing at me. It also means that the center is freed up for me to actually do what saves turns. We get 2 new units in this chapter, and I'll talk about them as they're relevant. There's Tekun. You got to see his stats flash up on screen, but I'll read them out in a couple of minutes. The primary way I saved his turn in this chapter was to just have Ash push himself forward further in this chapter. He and Karina are able to work together to make this chapter significantly easier than in the past, with him chucking a hand axe to kill that rifle bow archer, who otherwise has access to free range, and Karina being below him with a 1-range weapon equip. She won't be getting any counterattacks against 2-range enemies, but she's able to still hold her own with an Iron Lance. On the right side, we also deployed the units of Zack, Lirin, Altares for the member card, like I mentioned in the past, and, yeah. The reason I specifically brought Zack is because he's able to deal decent damage with an iron bow at 2 range, because he's, again, really fast for an archer. He has 12 attack speed, so he's able to double almost every enemy on this map. Eduardo is able to rescue drop Anakin back with the help of Zack to keep Anakin safe after turn 1, and Kellic is there because he's able to actually take 1 or 2 hits. Karina took the energy ring, so she's able to one-round these specific cavaliers when they're in forest, and also, again, some other enemies. She's able to one-round some armor knights as well with an iron lance, as opposed to weighing herself down with a steel lance. The boss of this chapter doesn't move until someone's in his attack range, and Karina's going to be in his attack range on turn 2. In the past, I had that specific cavalier, one of the cavaliers that attacked Eduardo, die to Tekun with an enemy phase killing edge crit. I had that happen so that Tekun would be able to get a long enemy phase with a killing edge, with a myrmidon. With the Zanbato, because Tekun is the second XP target that's relevant in Anakin mode. He's a Myrmidon, as you can already see, and he joins the C-rank swords. He needs to reach A-rank swords by chapter 20. As a result, he's going to be pushing himself to increase his experience, so he can promote as early as possible, and his sword rank very quickly. Because he doesn't have his epic enemy phase, his experience takes a hit, but his bases of 24 HP, 10 attack, 12 skill, and 15 speed are enough to make him able to still hold up in the next couple chapters. We also get Emma. Emma promotes immediately, and all you really need to know about her is that she is really high bulk for a magic unit, specifically a mounted magic unit. Compare her to Priscilla from FE7, and it's a really funny comparison. And she joins us with C-rank staves with most of the way to B-rank staves. She needs to reach B-rank staves by chapter 20 and A-rank staves by chapter 28. By that point in time, she's already at S-rank staves, so she's not really worth mentioning beyond, yeah, she'll be deployed in almost every single chapter moving forward. Even if she couldn't automatically promote, she'd just be a basically better Tomiko in every single way, especially due to her actually having a staff rank. Her staff rank matters so that she's able to use something like Physic and Fortify later on, as opposed to the really non-existent, staves of Warp and Rescue in this run. We still don't have a combo, which is why Itsuki has access to Ash's Steel Axe. This is one of the rare occasions where Anakin will prioritize doing combat with something. Lirin also is in that position, so she can do something next turn. Anakin's combat is just more reliable than dancing for Eduardo, and he wants to be in that position next turn anyway, so he's able to just take that kill. Karina is now in range of the boss. All that needs to happen on enemy phase is that she needs to land at least 1 hit on the boss, and I say at least 1 hit, she needs to connect on the boss, which is why she's using an Iron Lance. Tekun, as I said, is an experienced target. He has to promote by a point in time, and that point in time is, despite the fact that this is chapter 15, chapter 17x. He's base level 6, which is at least very helpful compared to Kellic's base level of 5. We're able to get him to 9.08 by the end of the next chapter, so even though his experience tanks a bit here with him only being able to pick up 3 kills, he's able to get some good experience in the next chapter. His sword rank is also able to be trained in the next chapter pretty easily because we'll be getting access to an Iron Blade. In theory, Kellic could have taken the Zanbato if I rearranged how I did some things, but it worked out the way that, perfectly, so. The Zanbato is a weapon that's effective against Cavaliers, and it's primarily going to be used by a couple of other units. Karina's 1% crit there is not necessary. She would have been able to one-round that Cavalier, but it works out, so. This chapter, as I wanted to mention in my notes, is one of the very few chapters in the game where we're able to have a mounted unit reliably one-round generic enemies without having to rely on silver weapons or killer weapons. Ash uses the chainsaw here, and you can see that it has really high crit. Perry has exactly 40 HP, so we need to deal just 1 point of chip damage to him to be able to kill him. If Karina had whiffed, we'd be able to do some backup options if we were able to push Zack further in, but just having her hit on flat terrain with, like, you know, good hit is enough. We drop a vulnerary with Ash, and we trade him to a different weapon later on with Karina. We also deployed Sia because she's able to kill that Cavalier at 2 range due to having access to 9 speed and being able to hit on the Cavalier's lower res. Lyran was put in the exact position she was because she's able to reach that village and canto away, unlike most other units that would, in theory, be able to do so. We also have Kellic just use the Iron Sword there to milk as much sword experience as possible out of enemies. He's level 8, which is already pretty good for his experience, and he can go without being deployed in the next couple of chapters and be perfectly fine to hit his experience benchmark. He overshoots it, as I already mentioned. The main reason we want to be able to canto after visiting this village is due to the reinforcement cavaliers that spawn on those forts. Lyran is able to move herself out of that position and be fully safe. She has to use an elixir to bait at least one of the cavaliers away from herself, and she has to enter the enemy range of the knight. We move Tekun to the left so that he's able to be targeted by one of the cavaliers, and we burn a couple RNs so that he'll crit on enemy phase. After that, all that's left is visiting the store to buy a single Thunder Tome, which we will need in Chapter 19, and then we're able to show the status. Thank you for watching. That was Chapter 15 cleared in 3 turns, which is a turn saved over the previous playthrough. The reason we gave Karina the energy ring is so she's able to one-round the Cavaliers with an Iron Lance, because she doesn't have the speed to double them with a Steel Lance, which is the only way she would be able to one-round Armor Knights without weighing her, without the energy ring otherwise. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time for Chapter 16.